On today's Lockdown Guardians, the Guardians convince their ace to stay. They make a move for an outfielder. And spring training is over. We are so back. Let's go.
Tanner Bibee of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So glad we can continue to use that intro for the next several years to come. Tanner Bibee staying in Cleveland. Cleveland convinces another key piece of their team to stay. And let's be honest, take a team-friendly deal. We'll get into that. We'll get into how Nolan Jones fits on this roster, what that all means, how the roster's coming together. We'll talk a little bit about how this makes the offseason look at this point. Before we get rolling on all the good stuff today, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, if you're a new customer, get $200 in bonus bets. Your first $5 bet wins. Welcome to Locked On Guardians. Thank you for being here and joining us for the best half hour of the day. We're talking your Cleveland Guardians. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're talking a lot of things Guardians today. I'm Justin Ladd. I've been covering the Guardians minor league system since 2007, where I covered Tanner Bibee at one time for Guardians Baseball Insider, where I was the editor-in-chief, Prospects Live, Morning Journal, News Herald, and here with all you wonderful people. And Jeff. You're wonderful too, Jeff.
Am I not people? Is that the takeaway there, that I'm not people? But people are not. I used to write about prospects in the draft over at Scouting 24/7 nationally. Before that, I wrote at IBI and at every Cleveland sports blog that pretty much existed at some point. And then they decided to make me one of the cornerstone beginner people here at Locked On. I don't know what they were thinking at the time, but I'm appreciative to them. Thank you to all of our everydayers for joining us. And enough of that. We have so much to talk about. For a team that had kind of a boring spring training, like that's what we talked about last week. They decided to come out firing. Do we start with Tanner? Or do we start with Nolan? What do we want to start with?
Yeah, the Tanner thing, I think we could start with there,
Okay.
because you and I have been kind of pushing for this for a while now. And by the way, quick shout out also to our everydayers, our diehards, all the people that were listening on Saturday. I jumped on and did an impromptu live reaction to the extension, the trade, and I just want to say all those people that jumped on that have listened, can't say how much we appreciate you, because it's fun to do. I love talking ball and Guardians no matter what, but it's a lot more fun when everybody's into it the way you guys have been into it, and it's really your show, and I appreciate that you guys have shown us so much love over that, and like I said, this is the favorite half hour of my day, and hope it's yours, and I appreciate the hour we all spent together on Saturday talking about that, because it's all good stuff. But yeah, this was a move you and I have been talking about for a while now. We said this is the move Cleveland had to commit to. I think even more so than Stephen Kwan. And I know that's a little bit maybe controversial to some people, because like everyone's like, oh, Cleveland's the pitching factory, and you have other pitchers in the outfield. They've struggled to develop an outfield, so you need to keep an outfielder. The reason I think Tanner right now is the guy they had to prioritize over Kwan, and I think you and I, we both said too that the Kwan extension.
Well, I just think Kwan is that, yeah, it flowed the coop.
Yeah, it did, but I don't want to say the pitching factory is dried up, because it hasn't dried up, because I think we're excited about the pitching coming through. We just talked to Parker Messick on Friday on this show. If you didn't listen, go back, because Parker we think is going to be part of that group. We like Austin Peterson, and there's Cantillo and there's Nikhazy, but it's Tanner, and who's coming after that, right? Like there's really, like, if Shane Bieber has a great second half this year, he's gone. And if John Means has a great, John Means is back next year, no matter what, I'm pretty sure. It was a 2-year deal for them, but
team option. So if he's not great, they can let him go.
Right. So I'm saying if he pitches well, he comes back, and if not, they can decide that. But Tanner is the future of this pitching staff. He's the current and the future, and they have other prospects, but their higher end pitching prospects are all in high school right now. They're all the high school kids. So I think it just made so much sense for them to invest in a guy that can carry them into the next generation of this pitching staff. And it's the right guy to do it with too, right? Like we've talked about all these things, like the health history, I don't want to jinx anything, but it has been fantastic for Tanner. It's the person, it's the work ethic, the way he stepped up last season. And let's just be honest here too. Like, they're getting a steal on this money. This is a contract that's incredibly team friendly for what you're going to get for what Tanner provides. So this is the right move. And we've been saying they had to do it for a while, because I think this at least gives them a chance to bridge the gap and hang on to a guy Because if you don't, and then what, you got, let's see, 5, 6, 7, you're probably trading him in 3 seasons. You got 3 more seasons out of Tanner because he would have been a free agent in 2028. So maybe even 2026 you're trading him, So this is really important for them to lock somebody up long term, because Gavin Williams is a guy who's not going to be here long term no matter what happens. We both know that. Yeah. You needed a bridge, you needed a leader to lead you into the future and lead you right now. And Tanner accomplishes both of those things for them.
And just in case you missed it, I think we should mention it. So he gets a $2 million signing bonus. And then he'll get $3 million this season, $4 million the year after, $7 million the year after that, $10 million the year after that, and then $21 million in the final year in 2029. And then Cleveland owns a team option for 2030, which is also $21 million with a $1 million buyout. So it's, especially early on, it's going to be a great deal. With the way he was setting up, he was going to make a lot more than that. But I think, for those who might have missed it, this way, the money, so you can see and agree. And the thing I will say is, comfortability again, I think played in. Like Tanner, it felt like kind of wanted to say, and I think that is important and valuable. And, for the pitching factory, it always took a degree of luck, right? Like Corey Kluber to become who he was a pathway. A lot of people wanted to cut Carrasco before he got to where he was. People forget Trevor Bauer really didn't break out here. Like he had a great year and then an injury plagued year, and then went to Cincinnati and was using foreign substances. It's like that wasn't actually a lot of Cleveland's doing. But Bieber was, and they've had a lot of great success with guys, but at the same time,
Clevenger,
you got to have Clevenger was one, but I mean Savali is more that mid rotation. Finding aces is really hard. No team is going to be perfect at that. And when we're going through and looking at their development, for a few years there, they weren't drafting as many arms because the college group wasn't as strong, and their high school guys have all gotten hurt or been traded. When you look at the Zibbins and the Humphreys, and then you look at last year's group, unfortunately, they went heavier in high school and have nothing to show for it so far. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's injuries, and then other teams liking what they had, and them trying to go all in. So signing your horse is always a good thing. And I think having gone through some of the travails of this spring probably made that more apparent than ever. I didn't see anyone complaining about this, and if they are, I don't know what to tell you. It feels like there's still a chance more could come. We'll have to see if it happens or if it doesn't happen. But again, for people always ask every time we say it, the reason Quan isn't going to happen is he's already in arbitration. He's made a decent amount of money. They approached him at various times. They had very different beliefs on payment and structure. It just does not seem, basically, once a guy gets out of this offseason, once a guy is first or second year in arbitration is when you have a chance to sign him. After that, it's forget about and move on.
Yeah, and Tanner, how this happens too is like, we've talked about what the value was on this, and we've heard various things over the last year about like what this might look like and if they can even get it done with Tanner. Because you're right, the pre-arbitration thing is big because now Quan can probably make more in arbitration than Cleveland was going to give him. But how this gets done, like we talked about, like what was the framework was the Brian Bayo deal from Boston. We're talking like the 5-year, $50 million, the Hunter Green deal, something like that. And the biggest contract to a pitcher Cleveland's ever committed to was Carlos Carrasco, and that was his second extension, which was 4 years, $47 million. So this barely beats it. It's lower, and it's lower annual average value. So again, Cleveland is really getting a great deal here in Tanner. And I'm not saying Tanner's not betting on himself. He's getting security up front, right? Because he was going to make like $800K this year, which, nothing to sneeze at. But in terms of what he's actually worth and what he can do and the value he provides, is obviously a lot more in Major League Baseball. And he's getting a little more money up front. But if he continued to pitch the way he was pitching or the path he was continuing on, I don't have any doubts that he would have gotten paid in arbitration. So like Cleveland, normally what Cleveland does with these deals is, right, they give you more money than you're going to get in arbitration. That it used to be how it's done. Now they're backloading it. And I know some people out there like had comments about like, oh, of course they're backloading it and all that kind of stuff. We can get into the contract structure a little bit and how we see that playing out and the impacts of that. But
I mean, they paid Shane Bieber. Like people need to. The reason that they traded Jimenez is because Jimenez wasn't good enough.
Exactly.
For $23 million. That's end of story. We don't have to get into it. If you're good enough, they'll pay you. Like end of story. Jimenez isn't worth $23 million. Shane Bieber, I mean, they will pay you if it's, under what they've agreed to previously. Like they will pay
if it's
Tanner
under market value.
Yeah. If it's what they've already signed, like they'll pay Tanner at the end of this contract.
And 21 million at the back of this contract too, by the way. This contract ends on the other side of the new CBA, inflation, whatever. 21 million towards the end of this deal is still going to be a fantastic value
like
for Tanner.
15 or 16.
Yeah, it's still going to feel really good for him. And you don't get a Tanner Bibee to stay and take what I think he completely knows he could have gotten more on the open market. But at the end of this deal, if they let him go to free agency at the end of the deal, they see this all the way through to the end, he's still going to be young enough where he can go out. He can get paid on those 3-year deals that pitchers will get if they continue to stay healthy and pitch, which, all indications so far is good for Tanner, but the future will tell the future. But like
He's
the culture
26 this month, and this gives them what? Is it 6+1 or 5+1?
5+1.
So then 6 years, so you're looking at him entering his age 32. If
he stays healthy, he'll still be good enough
fine.
to get it.
Yeah, I mean, look at free
deal.
agency. We can look at the starters in free agency at age 32 who got paid. Like that's not an issue.
Do I have to bring up Alex Cobb for the first time all off season again?
You don't even have to bring up Alex Cobb. I mean, just all the other guys who had free agency were, guys. Look what Kyle Gibson got 2 years ago. I mean, at age 57, I think.
Charlie Morton this year from the Orioles. There's still that.
Pitchers get paid. Yeah.
But you also you don't get a Tanner Bibee to agree to a under market deal to stay with you pre-arb if you don't have the right culture in place, if you don't have a good relationship with the player, the development. Because remember we know how close Tanner was to being a Cub, right? He thought the Cubs were going to take him ahead of them. Yeah. And they were able to get him twice. So he comes to Cleveland in the draft, takes a little bit less than maybe he could have gotten somewhere else in the draft, and now he takes on a market deal to stay. But the important thing is he wanted to be here, and I understand people are going to say we want them to spend more money. I'd love to see them push the payroll to the 120 millions consistently. I totally agree with that, and I would have liked to have seen them add more this offseason to coming off an ALCS. But we always said the important thing for them was keeping the guys they develop here, which is something they've been kind of struggling with, and Tanner is one of those guys they're keeping. So I'm gonna say that's an important thing for them to do. We can get into more Tanner. We can get into more Nolan Jones. I want to talk about some of the roster decisions that are taking shape too, because some of the decisions in the comments have been really interesting this week, and I'm very curious to see how Cleveland's going to handle how that looks early on. So we can get into all the rest of today's Locked On Guardians.
But first, listen, I've got my Just Ingredients right here. I am drinking it throughout the show. We are doing pre-show, and I drank half of it, more than half, as one can see. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients is also partnering with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. I have a house full of people with allergens. It is important to me when things are labeled very clearly, easily to know. For me, it is gluten. For my son, it is dairy, eggs, and peanuts. So it is nice. I can look at it and say, this is something I can have. I find it delicious. It is something that I'm enjoying. I'm using it when I am on the show. When I'm not on the show, it is just a great product. So visit justingredients.us and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram.
Appreciate all of you making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever you is. Get podcasts. You've made it this far. Make sure you're leaving a thumbs up. You're subscribing. Make sure you don't miss any videos. If you subscribe and you hit the bell, you would have seen that I went live on Saturday in reaction to all these, so you wouldn't have missed that. Put up a couple shorts. You wouldn't have missed those. Make sure you're auto-downloading on audio, so that way you are never missing an episode there. And if you enjoy the content we provide and you want a little bit more of that, you want some extra benefits of Locked On Guardians, just consider being an insider. That's on your screen. That's also in your show description. Join subtext.com/LockedOnGuardians. We were talking about the news with our insiders a little bit over the weekend. We're also doing an insiders only fantasy league right now. This week coming up, bonus content coming your way, some prospect stuff, some draft stuff, extra episodes throughout the season. whatever tidbits and news we get, we'll share with the insiders. So if you want all that stuff and you like what you're hearing here, make sure you're signing up and telling a friend too to come hang out with all that stuff. I think we've covered the Bibee thing.
I think
You got a little more. Yeah.
No, we know who Tanner is. It's a good decision. It's a great contract. The people who are complaining about money are those ones who always want to look on the dark side. They never want to look. They always want to look for a negative. And let's enjoy and have fun. There's no reason to look for a negative.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Nolan Jones. This was a surprise. I think it's really interesting having listened to the press conferences. It's very clear that they weren't happy with outfield. You and I talked about hoping they trade for Taylor Ward. We talked about a lot of options out there. Free agency, there was not a good pathway to add outfield talent. So instead they added pitching. And I think that was the right call. And this trade came available mostly, I think, because Nolan Jones' health is just, a smidge better than Chase DeLauter's. He's had consistent health issues, and Colorado decided to go for some safety and for some floor, also because Thairo Estrada broke his wrist and they didn't have a second baseman they could go to. Otherwise, their second baseman was going to be Owen Miller. Fun fact. That was the guy who was going to be at second base. So they it feels like a bit of a knee jerk, and Cleveland had second base depth. To me, this clearly means Freeman was never really in that second base competition. If he was their starting second baseman, they wouldn't have made this trade. If he was the guy who was going to play for them. So he was not the guy. Instead, they traded kind of a low floor platoon bat against, left-handed hitters for more of a high ceiling platoon bat against righties. They needed, this is an upgrade over Will Brennan. They needed more left-handed bats. He is, the king of passivity. That's just there in the profile. I think one of the things that stood out when I was looking at Savant stats was both with Cleveland in his first year in Colorado, he was barreling balls at close to 15%. He was so hurt a year ago, it was down to 6%. That's just not him. He can be really effective with his low chase, high walk rate. He's going to K a lot. He's like I said, he's passive, but he runs really well. It's kind of like him and Noel have to be the biggest fast dudes in the league. Cleveland's building, a football team, but he gives them some things they didn't have. He gives them some depth, and he gives them a really interesting option. I've been a fan of his since his days in high school. I love trading a kind of a low, high floor, low ceiling guy for a guy who's got some significant ceiling, and you never get poor. You never mess up trading with the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, this is true. You're not, I did question it first a little bit. I was like, all right, why are the Rockies selling on Jones here? And I know they've got like Zach Veen and Jordan Beck and they optioned Zach Veen down, but yeah, I'm just generally going to fade whatever the Rockies do because they're a strange organization and they just have not really they had Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado and Charlie Blackmon. Outside of that, it's been kind of rough over the last couple of years. So yeah, I initially was
the wrong guys to keep and the wrong guys to trade. They kept Blackmon. They went out and signed the Cubs guy I'm blanking on, who was really Chris Bryant. They're really bad about picking the windows to when to do things. So
yeah, and I did initially question the trade a little bit because I was like, all right, why are the Rockies selling low here? Because this is a guy 2 years ago who they did need a second baseman initially, and I said before I wouldn't be stunned if Freeman gets some BABIP luck out there and looks pretty good. I'm not going to be surprised by that. I definitely could think it. I think it could happen. So people might say oh.
I think they want Goodman and Beck to play. I think some of that is Goodman and Beck. I know Goodman's also a catcher, but he's an outfielder too. Yeah. I think it's about that.
The other thing to me for this too, for the Guardians is they originally told Will Brennan he was going to be on the opening day roster, and now he's not. Now they're saying it's up in the air and they haven't decided yet. So this says not great news for Will Brennan, which understandable. I say that again as somebody who was kind of the leader of the Will Brennan breakout thing, and I thought in 2022 they had found kind of another Brantley-esque Quan type player, and he just hasn't turned that corner ever for him. Getting Jones back though, I think I said this on Saturday. If you listen to the live, this clearly to me, I mean, they said they weren't going out and they weren't actively shopping Freeman. This deal came together very fast, they said, and the Rockies needed a second baseman. They were interested in Freeman. So I agree with all things you're saying. Yes, you're taking a guy who clearly wasn't going to play a whole ton this year, it seems like, because they were probably Arias at second base. They wanted Brito to take second base a little more. There's Bazzana. Freeman's a backup center fielder. Like, I just didn't see the pathway to him really impacting the team, despite what they're saying. I didn't see them ever making the commitment. And yeah, Jones gives them much more of a ceiling, which you want them to go for more, right? But to me, this says, yes, Will Brennan, not effective. I think this definitely squeezes him off the roster. We'll see what happens in the coming days when they make more decisions. I also think this is a little bit about Chase DeLauter, too. I still continue to say right now that I think they were looking at Chase DeLauter as somebody who they were hoping they could get some impact from this year. And I'm not saying they won't, because, I guess at least this wasn't a foot injury for Chase DeLauter, but he's hurt again. And I don't think you can, if you're Cleveland, if you're trying to win this year, I don't think you can bank on Chase DeLauter giving you anything. Like, I don't want to say he's Daniel Espino at this point, because he's not quite there yet. But, like, if he gives you something, it's got to be a bonus. It can't be we're hoping Chase DeLauter impacts the lineup. So I like getting this move for them. And the real question for Nolan Jones, like, is he going to be healthy? And they talked about, like, managing his workload, which, is great speak for we're going to platoon him, which is fine because he never hit lefties well anyway. But the other shift here to me is this is a very clear, and maybe it just matters who the value and they got it back. They could have, if somebody else was trading for interested in Tyler Freeman, maybe they would have got a totally different player. But this clearly to me says that they are still moving back in the direction of more power and patience, right? Like, if you look at their offseason, right, we said they traded Naylor. They brought back Santana, who they were comfortable with. There was a chance Brito makes the roster. He didn't. And he provides a little bit of patience and passivity to a point. And now Nolan Jones who will play over Will Brennan. Like, even Lane Thomas walks a little bit. So, like, I feel like they've sort of started to gradually move back in the position of, all right, we need to get away from these contact guys, get away from all the guys that are just
I think they just want balance.
Yes, that's a good point.
You were so focused on one.
Contact.
I think it's now trying to balance. They're trying to diversify. They thought contact was the secret to all of it. And then we had 2022 where it's like, well, the problem is when you're relying on high contact, then you're at the mercy of that all the time.
Yeah, so you're just it's diversifying your lineup a little bit. You need guys who can walk and can give you some power. So I completely understand going in this direction too for that sake. And now this trade is what? It's essentially Tyler Freeman for Juan Brito and Nolan Jones. Like, that's what it ends up
Tyler
being,
Freeman
right?
straight up for Juan Brito.
For Juan Brito, which I totally would do. Yeah, Brito doesn't provide the glove, but you're looking for multiple impact tools, and I don't know if Brito has multiple impact tools to be honest with you. Like, the glove and the speed aren't there, and it's really all about the hit tool. But for Freeman, there was no pop in the bat either. Like, he wasn't getting the ball in the air a ton. We know Brito at least does
the exit
that.
velo. The swing is just never going to produce consistent power.
And Brito's the opposite, where he doesn't really have Tyler's exit velos, but guess what?
Yeah.
He puts the ball in the air to the pull side. So the interesting question is how they fit Jones back in, and you just hope he's healthy, right? Like you were talking about, like the barrel rate went down last year. I don't think anybody should expect him to recreate 2023. I think we all know that. You said that. We've said that multiple times. But
Jim Bowden said he's going to win a batting title, so I'm looking forward to the batting title and the MVP chase for him this year.
Coming in Cleveland. Yeah, you heard it here first.
And look forward to Lawrence Butler's breakout next year.
Yeah. Is he going to get another extension on top of the one he already signed? I'm just curious. Lawrence Butler's doing really good. All right, we got to talk more about the roster fit here. We got to talk about the bullpen, the rotation, and how this roster is taking shape. And we'll talk about how this affects our view of the offseason. We're also going to get into your headlines. I asked our insiders for what their headlines were for this weekend's moves. It was an exciting weekend for the Guardians, I think. Hope everybody's pumped for the season. Hope everybody's enjoying the show. We got more to come on this episode of Locked On Guardians. If your bracket isn't busted yet, well, maybe it is. Mine's a little bit busted right now, but it's okay because March Madness is here and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. If you're a new customer, you can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories to who is cutting down the nets. If your bracket is busted, I got to tell you, I don't know how many games are going to be left for you to put the $5 down on and feel good and you're going to cash in. But if you got a hunch, if you're feeling good about it, there's been some good stories this tournament. head over to FanDuel, put the $5 down, be responsible, and if you're a new customer, got a chance at $200 in bonus bet. I've been enjoying it. I hope you've been enjoying it too. March, I would put $5 down that March is the best sports month of the year. Disagree with me at your own peril. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long.
Boo!
There's a reason they say this is March, and this is Locked On Guardians. So this is March. Everyone loves March. I love March. Also, am interested in these roster shapes. So if we're looking at how the roster shapes up on the Nolan Jones trade, if I had to guess, and I've also heard too, I'm not saying this is concrete or anything, but like it kind of sounds like there's more roster things in flux. Like there might be more moves. I don't know if they're going to be external or internal, but like the roster may not be totally set right now.
Be shocked if they
it's
wanted
just
to
funny because we talked about all the time about how the opening day roster is not like the end all be all because the things are going to change so much. And we've been doing roster projection shows once a week since spring training started, and we get to the end of spring training and none of us had Nolan Jones coming back on our bingo card. No. So things can change fast.
And again, it was 48 hours to come together. And on top of that, again, like place is Fort Knox. Nothing occurs. Like there was no leak of that until it occurred. I am kind of curious to see if they kind of maybe do want to add another right-handed bat to the bench. Because again, I do think there is a degree of wanting to have a platoon partner for Manzardo, which trading Freeman takes away. So I think that's why they're talking to Brendan. Like Schneemann, his best role is like he plays all over. Like his most valuable skill is you can have him play like 8 different spots. Noel is a platoon situation. Hedgie is Hedgie. It's like that other spot really feels like a place where they need someone who can play infield and or be a right-handed bat to consider platooning with.
There's
with
a guy.
Manzardos.
There's a guy out there that I know that could do this. Brandon Drury just got released by the White Sox.
I think he's
You want to take advantage of teams. He increased his bat speed this spring. He had a great spring. His bat speed went up this spring. I don't know.
2 years of bad data.
I would take a flyer on Brandon Drury. I think he's a guy. He can play first. He can play a little infield. He can play a little outfield, and you take advantage of one of your division not rivals because they're not really rivals right now. But making a little.
If you can't make the White Sox, then that's all I need to know about you.
I don't know, man. Like I'm not saying I'm not looking at spring training numbers, but like
he has
everybody said possibly his bat speed went up.
His 24 Savant data is the worst Savant page I've seen in my life. Let me put it that way. That's why I think
great. So they can get him cheap. So you can get him cheap is what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I would be curious to see. Like I said, I personally wouldn't be shocked if they considered a trade. Like I wouldn't be shocked if they, went around and looked at some of the teams and there's going to be, and also or just talk to other guys who are let go. There's going to be a lot of players on the move these next few days. So I think they're gonna. A year ago, they told Kate Smith his spot was temporary, and then it wasn't. And they're going to just try to be active and see what's out there. But so the other thing, honestly, is we kept thinking that they were just going to put McKenzie out there because, they kind of had to. The fact that McKenzie is in the bullpen and he can probably only pitch maybe once a week in spite of that, that just speaks to how bad he was. Like, I don't know. Well, if we were placing odds, like, do you think he is with this team come August? Because I don't. Like, if he is in the pen right now, it feels like by August he is goodbye.
I think if you want to look at the two end of the extremes for McKenzie, he's either gone or he goes the route of Carlos Carrasco. I think that's what they're trying to do here. Is they're trying to Carrasco him. They specifically talked about attacking. Like their comments were painted pretty clear. I know we have to be careful about what they say versus what they do, but the comments I think is a pretty clear direction. They said this: we like the stuff. We like the player, but we got to get him into attack mode, and he's having a hard time getting into attack mode. That was exactly what Carlos Carrasco struggled with. He didn't throw a lot of first pitch strikes. He didn't come out of the gate very strong, and they're hoping in the bullpen he'll do that. I don't know about the once a week thing. They talking about McKenzie, like after all these decisions were made, they said like he's got to go and prepare to pitch every day now. Like he's got to be ready to go multiple days a week. So I guess we're going to find out if he has that in him or not. You and I have a skeptical if he can do it. And I continue to like McKenzie's stuff. Like I think he has a chance to play well out of the bullpen. I think the fast, you take away the slider. The slider was an okay pitch for him, but maybe he just goes to the fastball and curveball in the bullpen, and you see what happens. He could be a useful weapon. I could see it working out. I hope the bullpen mentality forces him to go out there and attack and make guys hit it. Don't worry about what they're going to do with it. Just force them to hit it. And if they do, then, well, you tried. So I don't know. And then Allen making the rotation. The McKenzie thing, I really do wonder how long the leash is going to be with him for sure. Because, like you said, I feel like coming into camp, the odds were like, okay, he's got to really, I don't want to say screw up, but he's really got to not do well to make the rotation because the odds were kind of going to be in his favor based on options, which, by the way, Nolan Jones also have options too. So, like, I am curious to see how long. I think they're going to stick with him for a while, truthfully, because there's no reason not to. But they don't have the options on him. So this is not a. It could be. It's not really. I don't think it's a long term move, but it could be. It's definitely not short term.
I think Nolan Jones are hoping it's a long term move. Like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you're hoping Chase DeLauter eventually finds a way to stay on the field too. But by the way, you said Chase DeLauter and Nolan Jones have similar health histories. Nolan Jones has 3 seasons where he's played over 100 games. Chase DeLauter, he got to do that once. Okay. Just saying.
Fair enough.
I'm being a little unfair to Nolan.
It is unfair to Nolan, but Nolan, I should say, always has a health issue every year. Maybe he's a shade north of George Valera in terms of health instead of a shade north of Chase DeLauter.
That's fair.
But so they need to check the water in Columbus. I don't know, but I think Nolan Jones is a play for a long-term play. I think they believe in him. I think there's a chance for him to, because it's also that situation where, hey, if you're worried about him and reps and everything else, like after Santana walks, could he be your future DH, your first baseman? Like there's a lot of roles and pathways for Nolan Jones to continue to go. That doesn't have to necessarily mean that like this is Chase, right? Like that's so you're hoping he can come back. He gives you the insurance for this year.
Yeah.
I don't know. And the interest in me, I know they said in the press conferences that they are happy with like how well Logan Allen played. He was under sub 90 average fastball this spring. That doesn't work. Like, let's just be honest. An 89 average fastball doesn't work typically. I mean, maybe there's something there, but I got to look at some more advanced data, but I'm hoping he doesn't get lit up. I want to be proven wrong. I was a big believer in him as a pitcher at Florida Atlantic, and I would love him to be one of that, the big 3 of arms that they caught up with Williams and Tanner. Like those 3 guys together were all top 10 prospects for us. And if they can, I'm not asking for him to be more than a 5, but he can be a 5 that brings so much stability for the next half a decade.
It does. Yeah, it does. I don't know about the fastball metrics either. I mean, he had a good spring for whatever that's worth. He had a good spring despite the fastball velocity
in a non-friendly environment. So maybe that is positive.
Yeah, maybe that is. I don't know. You look at the opponent quality score on Baseball Reference, and it's just a shade above AA. And you can't take that all too seriously either, because like he's going to face some major leaguers, he's going to face some minor leaguers. Nobody, if you're pitching or playing at all in spring training, you're not going to face all major leaguers, and you're not going to face all minor leaguers. So it's always going to average out. And I don't have like the data in front of me to say like how he did against major leaguers, and those hitters could have been working on things. So I don't know. It's definitely interesting. I would not be surprised if we see a lot of movement in the 5 spot this year, whether it's Allen, McKenzie, or somebody else. I wouldn't be shocked if we talked about the second base battle going into the regular season, where if our ace doesn't get off to a good spot, it could be Juan Brito. I wouldn't be shocked if we see the 5th starter spot kind of fluctuate throughout the year either, because nothing stays the same. Does this change the Tanner Bibee extension? Does that and the Nolan Jones trade? Let's be honest. Does that change your outlook of the offseason? Does it improve it? I personally say it does, because you moved some money around and the pressure was on to do something with that money and not just cut funds. And, they went out and got an outfielder. I'm not saying like Nolan Jones is going to come in and be, not even, I was going to say Lonnie Chisenhall. What's the right? David Justice. I'm not going to say he's even like David Justice or Jim Thome, but like
David Justice was really good here.
Right. I think he gives them more upside. I said on the live Saturday that Jones gives them more upside without hurting their floor, right? Because Tyler Freeman wasn't going to really impact the team the way you think he was going to. And Jones can impact the team, but I don't think he's going to hurt the floor either. So I definitely view this as a positive boost to the end of their offseason, which, surprised that it happened in spring training, but I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, it was a shocker all around, but it's like he doesn't have to do much, right? He has to go out and hit righties, which he's done historically, and provide some pop. And if he can be above average, then you've won. Like that's all you need. And doing the extension is the right move. Which is really easy to say because it's an extension. But yeah, it's just an exciting situation. And I mean, I was already more or less, I didn't dislike this offseason as much as many, but this is just a cherry on top of, I thought, what was a solid offseason. With all the things hanging over their head and the whole TV situation, which is, hey, we still don't have any resolution on that all the way yet, do we? So with things
probably
so
tomorrow
close,
or Wednesday, yeah, I would
but
say.
It's clearly the TV situation's a mess. I think this front office really did a nice job with limited assets.
I agree. I do think it was a decent offseason for what they went on to accomplish. We'll see if it turns out okay. I mean, Luis Ortiz, the walks, and Santana's got to fight off Father Time, Sewald, Junis. I think there were some solid moves here. I definitely don't think they went backwards. I definitely think they at least stayed neutral, and the extension was a really important piece here. All right, really quickly before we get out of here, I asked some of our insiders for their headlines for all the news this week. It was a fantastic weekend, and we wanted to know what our insiders really thought of this weekend. So let's kind of go through some of these here. Jim Vogel says, "Hope springs eternal." Absolutely agree with that. I think that's a fantastic headline. I think everybody's pretty hopeful about this move. I like Ethan's. Ethan said, "Goodbye, small ball." I agree. Now you have some more power in this lineup, right? If you're gonna have a Noel and Jones platoon, you got Jose, you got Lane Thomas, you got Manzardo, you've got hopefully we'll see more from Bo Naylor this year. So I think you have some guys with some power upside here. Get ready for 2025. Yeah, I think a lot of people are ready for the season. Analysts predict 40 home runs, a new right field platoon. I think 40 might be a little bit high. I'll take 30. I think 30. What do you think about that?
Yeah, makes sense. I think people are a little too aggressive at 40, but I mean, if you get 30 out of an outfield spot, how can you not be happy?
Yeah. Carl says, "Bring on 2025 looks brighter than just a few days ago." I agree. I said my headline was spring surprise. I think surprised to get the extension done, surprise on that trade, but it's a good surprise. I love David's. He sent us a nice newspaper headline, but he said, Guardians front office clearly has compromising photos on the Rockies. That's probably true. So long as trade makes sense and we respect it. If you're having trade, this is a good one from David. If you're having trade problems, I feel bad for your son. The Guardians got 99 prospects and still fleeced one. All right, drop the mic. David wins the headline contest. I definitely agree with that. A lot of people are saying this is a fleece. I am confused by it for the Rocky side of things. I agree. I'm not saying it's a slam dunk home run. I'm not saying it's a slam dunk home run. It's going to work out for the great for the Guardians because Nolan Jones has to stay healthy, and I think I'm not saying he's going to repeat 2023, but
he's never going to repeat that. Let's be honest.
No, but I can see him. I could see him playing a platoon role every day and hitting 20 home runs and giving him some walks, which what you need.
He could be Lane Thomas.
So you have two
2020 guy.
Is this okay? Real quickly, is this the best guard? We're going to talk about this tomorrow. Actually, don't answer this today, Jeff. But we're going to answer it tomorrow. Is this the most excited we have been about a Guardians outfield in quite some time? I think the answer is pretty easy. But we'll get into that tomorrow on tomorrow's show. We'll get more reactions. We'll get more news on what happened. The Guardians have 2 more games in Arizona, exhibition games, but they're not Cactus League games. The season's coming. It's here. I know people are waiting for the TV thing. I understand. It should get announced soon, but the season's coming. We'll talk outfield tomorrow. We're going to do some fan mail episodes. We'll do a season preview. Don't forget, if you're part of the Insiders group, our draft is on Tuesday. Appreciate you all for today, every day, and appreciate you, especially guys on Saturday, too.
Quick shout out to our everydayers, top YouTube, John Fagan, D. Backstrom, Pork Chop Sandwiches, David Lewis, and BMAC 2307. Remember to get your comments in to get the shout out if you were one of the top ones on Mondays. Thank you, as always, for joining us for being an everydayer. We hope you enjoyed what was a fun show with a lot of great news. Like whenever Rockies fans are pissed, the media is saying it's a great deal. The media is saying it's great. Like, it is all coming up Millhouse right now. So everyone, just take a second, enjoy it, and just let's enjoy them. Right? Just enjoy it. I'm sorry I ruined it.
We never left.
As always, thank you to each and every one of our everydayers. I want to thank everyone who is joining us or anyone new. Make sure to subscribe. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.